Okay, let's get into your reading, Libra. Okay, it looks like they've been watching you close enough to know exactly what they're losing, not from far away, not casually, closely. Every post, every move, every sign that you're pulling further away. And here's what you're not expecting. This isn't someone who just misses you. This is someone who is genuinely, deeply, can't sleep at night scared that you are actually done, and a confession is coming that they've been sitting on for way too long. And I want to name something in your energy before we even get to the cards, because you've been in a really specific place lately. Not chasing, not begging for answers, just quiet, pulled back, protecting your own peace because you got tired of being the only one showing up honestly. And that quiet you're sitting in right now has done something on the other end that you may not even realize. It's been the loudest thing this person has ever had to sit with. Drop a comment right now and say, I'm ready for the truth. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Okay? Let's go all the way in. Okay, first oracle card. You make them feel something they weren't ready for, and that's what made them pull back. And your guides led with this because it explains everything that came after. Because something about you hit different for this person from the start. A pull, a dreamlike, can't stop thinking about you kind of pull that honestly scared them a little. And maybe you're different from them in some real way. The age, the background, the world you each come from. And that difference made this person hyper aware of what other people might think, what it might look like, whether they were supposed to want this. And instead of just being honest about that fear, they went quiet. And the quiet is what started all of this. Okay, second oracle card. They've been thinking about you in a way that's almost embarrassing to them. And this is the oracle card that gets specific because this isn't a casual every once in a while thought. This person thinks about you constantly, about your hands, about what it would feel like to hold you again, to be close to you again, to have that reunion moment they've replayed in their head more times than they'd ever admit. And honestly, the intensity of it kind of embarrasses them because they didn't expect to feel this much. And they're wondering constantly if you feel even a fraction of what they feel. Okay, third oracle card. The silence you're in right now gave them nowhere to hide from their own feelings. And here's the part that matters most. The silence between you two wasn't nothing. It did something. It took away all the distractions, all the noise, all the ways this person used to avoid actually sitting with how they feel. And in that quiet, they've been forced to really think, to really ask themselves, what would my life actually look like without this person in it? And the answer scared them. Because some of them have genuinely been struggling, sick, stressed, not themselves. And a lot of it traces straight back to losing you. Okay, fourth oracle card. They know they've been punishing you emotionally, and they're finally seeing it clearly. And your guides brought this through because it's an honest one. This person has punished you, not with cruelty, with silence, with pulling back instead of talking, with making you feel the absence instead of just telling you what was going on inside them. And they know it now. They're looking in the mirror and seeing clearly that their ego, their fear of being that vulnerable, got in the way of loving you the way you actually needed to be loved. And that kind of self-honesty doesn't come easily to someone like this, which is exactly why it matters that it's happening now. Okay, fifth oracle card. Your guides are naming the fear before it arrives, not the fear they won't reach out, the fear of what happens if you don't let them back in. And this is the oracle card I most need you to hear. Because there's a real fear sitting under everything right now. And it's not the fear that they won't reach out. The cards are confirming they will. The fear is, what if it's too late? What if I finally get brave enough to say all this and she's already gone? And your guides are naming that fear now because it's driving a lot of what's about to happen. This person is scared, genuinely scared, that you were ready to let them go and that they've run out of time to fix what they broke. Okay, sixth oracle card. A confession is coming, and it's the most honest they've ever been with you. And your guides saved this one because it's the whole point of the reading. A confession is coming, not a small one, the real one. The one where they finally tell you the things they've been holding back, the secrets they've kept, the fears that have been running the show this entire time. And this isn't them trying to manage the narrative anymore. This is them finally being honest because they know the alternative is losing you for real. Okay, seventh oracle card. The difference between you two isn't a flaw. It's exactly what woke them up. And your guides want you to see this clearly. Whatever makes you different from this person, your background, your age, the way you were raised, the way you move through the world, that difference isn't a problem to solve. It's actually the exact thing that pulled them so far outside their comfort zone that they had no choice but to feel something real. Because people don't fall this hard for someone who's just like everyone else they've already known. They fall this hard for someone who shows them a version of life they didn't know they wanted. Okay, eighth oracle card. They've rehearsed this confession more times than you'd believe. And your guides are showing me something tender here. This isn't a confession they're throwing together last minute. They have said this to you in their head, alone, more times than you'd believe. In the car, in the shower, lying awake at 2 a.m, running through exactly how they'd explain themselves if they ever got the courage. And every version of it ends the same way, with them finally telling you the truth they've been protecting you and themselves from. Okay, ninth oracle card. This isn't a pattern repeating. The fear that kept them stuck before is the exact thing breaking now. And your guides want to address something honestly because you might be worried this is just another cycle. Them pulling back, then reaching out, then pulling back again. And your guides are being very clear here. This is different. Because the very fear that kept them stuck in the old pattern, the fear of being vulnerable, the fear of being seen fully, is the exact thing that's finally breaking, not the fear disappearing, the fear finally losing its grip. And that's a different kind of shift than anything that's happened before. The Queen of Swords, the Six of Swords, the Nine of Wands, the King of Cups, the Eight of Wands, the Hierophant, the Fool, the Strength card, the Three of Wands, the Tower, the Page of Cups, the Ace of Cups, the Empress, 13 cards. And I want to take real time with everyone because together they tell the complete story. The Queen of Swords first. And this is your energy. Truthful, clear, not tolerating nonsense anymore. You've been making decisions with your head, not just your heart, because you've earned the right to protect yourself. And this person has been watching that very closely, watching you become someone who doesn't chase, who doesn't beg, who just quietly moves on. And here's the thing about the Queen of Swords energy you're in right now. It looks cold from the outside. It looks like you've closed off completely, but your guides know the truth. Underneath that clarity is still a giant heart. You just finally learned to protect it instead of handing it to anyone who asks. And the Six of Swords, and this is the uncomfortable conversation that's coming. There are things this person has kept hidden, things they've never fully explained, and that unspoken stuff is exactly what's kept you two from ever getting to the next level. But the Six of Swords is movement. It's the boat finally leaving the shore. This person feels like they owe you the truth, and they're finally ready to give it to you. And I want you to notice what the Six of Swords actually shows. A small boat, rough water behind, calmer water ahead. It's not a triumphant card. It's a quiet, necessary crossing. And that's exactly what this conversation is going to feel like. Not a dramatic movie-style reunion. Just two people finally being honest enough to move somewhere calmer. And the Nine of Wands, and this is the distance between you. Guarded, tired, someone who lets you close but not too close, and then hits an abrupt wall. And honestly, this might be you as much as them, because you've reached a place where you want the truth or nothing at all. And that boundary is exactly what's forcing all of this to a head. And here's what your guides want you to sit with. The figure in the Nine of Wands is exhausted, but still standing, still holding the line. And that's exactly what you've done through this whole thing. You kept your guard up, not because you stopped caring, but because you were tired of being the only one who did. And the King of Cups, and this is who they're becoming, your divine counterpart, the emotionally available version of them that didn't exist before, because this person has punished you by withholding, by staying quiet instead of vulnerable. But the King of Cups is them finally choosing to lead with their heart instead of hiding behind logic and control. And this card doesn't show up for someone who's just being nice. The King of Cups is emotional mastery, someone who has learned to feel deeply without being ruled by it, someone who can finally hold space for both of your feelings at once. And becoming that person took real work. Work they didn't do for anyone else. And the Eight of Wands. And this is fast-moving energy. Rapid communication. This person realizing there's a real synergy between you two and deciding finally to make peace, a peace offering. Wanting to de-escalate, wanting to be fair, wanting to come to you with integrity instead of more silence. And once this energy releases, it moves fast. The Eight of Wands doesn't do slow buildups. Whatever has been compressing behind all that silence is going to come out in a rush. Messages, plans, a sudden urgency to finally close the distance between you two. And the Hierophant, and this is how they see the relationship, as something with real higher meaning. Not casual, not random. Something spiritually guided, like you were always meant to find each other, however messy the path has been. And that's a significant shift for someone like this. Because the Hierophant is structure, tradition, the sacred and the serious. This person isn't treating what you have as something disposable anymore. They're treating it as something worth honoring, worth doing right, worth building on solid ground. And the Fool, and this is how they see you right now. Free, light, following your own heart wherever it leads, instead of staying bound to old wounds. And there's something about your freedom right now that's pulling them in even harder, because nothing is more magnetic to someone who feels stuck than watching someone else move freely. You're not waiting on them. You're not bitter. You're just living like someone who trusts where her own heart is taking her. And strength, and this is what's been blocking them. Ego, pride, the need for control that made them brave in every part of their life, except this one. You were their exception. You were the one place where control didn't work. And that's actually significant. Someone who can control every part of their life except how they feel about you is telling you something. You're not something they can manage or strategize. You're the one place they've had to actually feel instead of plan. And the Three of Wands. And this is them waiting, planning, watching for the right moment to finally make their move. They haven't been doing nothing this whole time. They've been preparing something real. And the Three of Wands is a card of vision. Someone standing at the edge, looking out at ships coming in, trusting that what they set in motion is finally arriving. This isn't impulsive. Whatever they bring you has been thought through, planned for, waited on until the timing was right. And the Tower, and this is the surprise coming. Something you're genuinely not expecting. A sudden shift. A moment that changes the shape of everything you thought was settled. And I want to reassure you about this card here. The Tower isn't always destruction. Sometimes it's just the fastest way to knock down a wall that needed to come down anyway. And in this position, the Tower is less about disaster and more about speed. This confession, whatever shape it takes, arrives suddenly and changes things fast. And the Page of Cups. And this is the sweetness underneath it all. A message, an offering, something genuinely tender, finally being expressed instead of held back. And the Page of Cups is young energy, a little unsure of itself, a little nervous, but sincere. Whatever they send you isn't going to sound polished or perfectly rehearsed. It's going to sound like someone who's nervous and trying anyway. And that nervousness is part of what makes it real. And the Ace of Cups. And this is the purity of what's coming. A brand new beginning, not a repeat of old patterns. Genuinely fresh, raw, unshaped potential that's fulfilling in a way nothing before it has been. Aces are always beginnings, but this one is significant because of what came before it. All those swords, all that guardedness, all that waiting, and then, finally, one clean, overflowing cup. It's the reward for both of you finally choosing honesty over fear. And the Empress, and this closes the spread on creation itself. You creating exactly what you want, your reality, your desires, made real. Whatever you've been asking for in the quiet of your own heart, it's arriving. And I love that the Empress closes this reading because she's abundance without asking permission. Whatever you've been quietly manifesting, the honesty, the real love, the version of this connection, that finally works. You don't have to force it. You just have to stay in your own fullness and let it come to you. Okay? Tea leaf cards, 7 of them. First tea leaf card. What's kept them from confessing sooner? And your guides are showing me a fear underneath the fear. This person worries they're not good enough for you, that nothing in their life ever goes right. So why would the one thing they want most actually work out? And that fear kept them stuck in old patterns way longer than it should have. Because as long as they never said anything out loud, they never had to risk hearing you say no. Silence felt safer than rejection, and that's a coward's kind of safety. Your guides aren't going to sugarcoat that. But it's also very, very human. And now the fear of losing you completely has finally gotten louder than the fear of being rejected. Next tea leaf card. How they've really been doing without you. And honestly, not great. Down. Regretful. The kind of change that even their friends and family have noticed. Small problems in their life have started feeling like big ones. Because underneath all of it is the fear that they lost you for good. There's a heaviness to their days right now that wasn't there before. A flatness. The specific kind of low that comes from carrying regret you haven't found the courage to do anything about yet. Next tea leaf card. The moment they finally get brave enough to reach out, and there's a specific moment coming, not a slow build, a moment where something just breaks open in them and they can't hold it together anymore, and communication starts fast after that. It might be something small that triggers it. Seeing something of yours, a memory hitting harder than expected, a moment of quiet where the silence just becomes unbearable. And once it breaks, they move fast because they've already waited longer than they can stand. Next tea leaf card. What your guides need from you while they prepare this confession, stay exactly who you are. Don't shrink back into old patterns just because they're finally showing up. Let them come to you as someone who's actually done the work, not someone asking you to meet them halfway on the same old stuff. Your guides want you to keep living exactly the way you have been, steady, a little guarded, focused on your own peace, because that version of you is exactly who earned this confession in the first place. Don't trade her in the moment things start to look hopeful. Next tea leaf card. The fork in the road you might be facing. There might be more than one energy pulling at you right now. An old one and a new one. And your guides aren't telling you which to choose. Just that a real decision is coming. And if there is someone new in the picture, your guides want you to know that it doesn't make you fickle or confused to be considering more than one path. It just means you're finally in a position where you have real options instead of just waiting on one person. Next tea leaf card. What changes the moment they finally say it out loud? Once this confession happens, it's not undone. The old dynamic, the guessing, the silence, the emotional withholding ends. Whatever comes next gets built on something more honest. And that's the real gift of this whole thing. Not just getting them back, getting an actual honest version of them, one who talks instead of retreats, one who explains instead of punishes you with silence. Next tea leaf card, what they've learned about themselves during this whole silence, and your guides want you to know this time apart wasn't wasted for them either. They've learned something real about their own patterns, the way they use logic to avoid feeling, the way they mistake control for safety, the way pushing people away has always felt easier than risking being truly known. And naming all of that to themselves is not a small thing. It's the exact work that had to happen before any confession could mean anything real. Next tea leaf card, the specific words that might come up when they finally talk to you, and your guides are showing me fragments, not the whole script, but pieces. Something like, I should have told you this a long time ago. Or, I was scared of how much I actually feel. Or, I know I hurt you by staying quiet. And whatever the exact words end up being, your guides want you to listen for the feeling underneath them more than the wording itself. Because someone who has genuinely done the inner work doesn't always find the perfect sentence. But you'll feel the truth of it regardless of the delivery. And the last tea leaf card, you receiving whatever comes next from a place of peace, not desperation. And your guides ended here because this is the image they want you to hold. You, steady, whole, listening to whatever they say, without needing it to fix anything, because you already know your own worth. And that image, you, calm, listening, not desperate for this to work out, is exactly the energy that makes whatever comes next actually land the way it's supposed to. Okay, final message from your guides. Just one. Let them confess and receive it from your peace, not your fear. Let them confess. That's the instruction. One instruction. Hear them out. Let the truth finally land and receive whatever it is from the place you've built for yourself, not from fear of losing them, not from old patterns, just from your own steady peace, because the Queen of Swords showed your clarity, and the Six of Swords showed the hard conversation finally moving, and the Nine of Wands showed the tired but steady boundary you've held, and the King of Cups showed who they're becoming for you, and the Eight of Wands showed how fast it moves once it starts, and the Hierophant showed them finally honoring what you have. And the Fool showed your freedom pulling them in. And Strength showed you were the one place their control never worked. And the Three of Wands showed the plan they've been quietly building. And the Tower showed the sudden shift still coming. And the Page of Cups showed the nervous, sincere offering headed your way. And the Ace of Cups and the Empress closed it all on something pure, something real. Something finally built to last. Okay, to bring this home, they're scared you're done with them. And a confession is finally coming, and the cards showed us everything. Your guides told us you make them feel something they weren't ready for, and that difference isn't a flaw. It's what woke them up, that they've been thinking about you constantly, rehearsing this confession more times than you'd believe, that the silence gave them nowhere to hide from their own feelings, that they know they've been punishing you emotionally, and they're finally seeing it clearly, that their real fear isn't whether they reach out, it's whether it's too late, and that a real confession is coming, the most honest they've ever been, and it isn't the old pattern repeating. It's the fear that ran the old pattern finally losing its grip. The Queen of Swords showed your clarity, protecting a heart that's still soft underneath it. The Six of Swords showed the hard conversation finally, quietly moving forward. The Nine of Wands showed the tired, steady line you've held. The King of Cups showed the emotionally available version of them finally arriving. The Eight of Wands showed how fast it all moves once it releases. The Hierophant showed them finally honoring what you have as something sacred. The Fool showed your freedom pulling them in even harder. Strength showed you were the one place their control never worked. The Three of Wands showed the plan they've quietly been building. The Tower showed the sudden shift still on its way. The Page of Cups showed the nervous, sincere offering headed your way. And the Ace of Cups and the Empress closed the spread on something pure, something real, something finally built to last. One instruction: let them confess and receive it from your peace. Claim this, loves. Drop a comment and say, I'm ready for the truth, and I receive it from my peace, not my fear. Because every word of that is true. Save this, share it today, and come back and tell me what they said when the confession finally came. If this resonated, please give this video a thumbs up. Drop a comment and tell me what hit hardest. And if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Take care of yourself. Bye, loves.